So, Ian, people viewing you now are just thinking about their dining room table, their home, feeding their kids and so, and they're saying, well, hang on, power prices are going up, coal-fired power is on its last legs, I can't do anything about it, they say. A transmission system for renewables that could never, ever meet the requirements of far-flung, subsidised renewable energy installations. Without policy changes, and how urgent must we have them, this is a recipe for what you said, bankruptcy, disaster. I called this 10 years ago a national economic suicide note.
Well, you were quite right. And we are grinding our way slowly towards it. There will be industries that will close down. The first one will be the aluminium smelting industry. Those people will lose their jobs because aluminium requires a huge amount of energy to make it. The next industry would be the zinc smelting industry. That also is where you have a lot of embedded energy. And then the average punter will actually feel this. And that's when governments get scared because we will have blackouts.
Yeah,
and the punter has
traffic lights go out and the cars are all running into one another at 8 o'clock at night. I think that's fantastic. Then we might wake up. See, Ian, in Victoria, I mean, you're in South Australia, I know, but the land mass, just for our viewers, in Victoria, is too small to accommodate the renewable energies, the renewable energy that's needed to meet Victoria's target. 65%, says that Andrews, by 2030, 95% by 2035. The land mass required for every megawatt hour of electricity generated by wind is 7 times greater than you need for coal-fired power. And yet these wood ducks in Victoria are talking about offshore wind, which is at least 4 times, oh, Ian, come on, 4 times more expensive than onshore wind. Hey, what are we on about here?
They want to build more wind turbines. Now, that is just rather silly because if the wind doesn't blow, it doesn't matter how many turbines you've got, you still don't have electricity. And Victoria used to have the cheapest electricity in the world, and that was brown coal from the Yallourn area, and that was about 3 cents a kilowatt hour. That was very, very cheap electricity, equivalent to the cheapest hydro around the world. And they have completely destroyed their competitive advantage, which is why Victoria has no manufacturing industry. All they do is to manufacture BS. That's all that comes out of Victoria now.
Absolutely, manufacture bull dust. I mean, no major transmission lines, I might add, have been built in Australia for more than 30 years. So ban gas connection for new residential areas in Victoria. The electricity bill will have to come from coal-fired power, so you'll push up emissions. Just before you go, the head of that utterly discredited IPCC, which you and I have talked about many times before, this Professor Jim Ski, you must probably know him, he's on the record as saying that generating a false sense of urgency through talk of climate catastrophe helps no one, and that it's wrong and misleading for climate activists to imply that temperature increases of 1.5 degrees Celsius pose an existential risk to humanity. But you got, Ian, people like this UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres, who dominated headlines with the claim that the world had moved from the era of global warming to the era of global boiling.
Well, 2 points. The head honcho of the IPCC is not going to last long if he starts talking common sense and calming the crazy activists. Our socialist mate who's telling us that we are in the era of climate boiling, he should learn a little bit of history. Yes, we did have a period of climate boiling on the planet, and that's before the oceans formed. And every time the atmosphere cooled enough for rain to drop on the very, very hot ground, it evaporated, and eventually we had running water on planet Earth. But that was on a Thursday 4,000 million years ago. Maybe he's got his times wrong.
Well, just finally, you know, we're only 1.5 years into the term of this government. Can it continue down this energy route until the next election? When will the day of reckoning arrive?
I think the day of reckoning will arrive when we each get our $275 that we were promised. In the interim, the electricity prices will continue to rise and continue to rise and continue to rise. People will lose their jobs. People are suffering stress now from inflation and from the high cost of electricity. And Chris Bowen, I think, is a wonderful asset to the Liberal Party. And the longer he stays there, then the harder will be the defeat of the Labor Party in the next election.